A toddler drops a toy, waiting for a reaction, but mom looks down, her face caught in the blue glow of a phone. In these first 5 years, the brain is actively constructing its own physical architecture. That construction relies entirely on a continuous back-and-forth biological loop that scientists call serve and return. A child serves by babbling, pointing, or simply making eye contact. They are asking the adult to engage. When you respond to that look or gesture, you are supplying the building material required to wire their brain together. This wiring happens in a strict bottom-up sequence. The brain must first establish basic sensory and motor circuits to form a solid base, before stacking complex skills like language and reasoning on top. Because of this rigid scaffolding, every advanced ability depends on the stage beneath it. If a lower circuit is weakly formed, higher-level functions struggle to hold their shape. In early childhood, the brain possesses a trait called neuroplasticity. It is highly flexible and eager to adapt to its environment, but that flexibility drops off rapidly as we age. By the time we reach adulthood, altering those established circuits requires massive amounts of physiological energy. Getting the neural scaffolding right the first time is dramatically more efficient than trying to fix a faulty foundation decades later. The construction of these circuits hinges on specific milestones. The most critical is joint attention. This happens the exact moment a parent and child focus on the same object simultaneously. When you name the object your baby points at, their brain lights up. That shared focus causes distinct neural networks to fire and fuse together. Repeating these serve and return cycles reinforces those specific pathways. The brain literally coats the active circuits, making them highly efficient and permanent. At the same time, the brain runs a ruthless efficiency program called pruning. To save energy, it actively eliminates any neural connections that are ignored or go unused. Every time you acknowledge a child's serve, you are rescuing a cognitive circuit from permanent deletion. Growing a brain at this speed is exhausting. In fact, without proper nutritional fuel in the tank, even a perfect cycle of serve and return lacks the raw biological energy needed to lock those neural connections into place. The developing brain is highly vulnerable to its environment. The two primary threats to its architectural progress are the absence of supportive relationships, which causes toxic stress, and the presence of passive media. Look at this comparison showing the literal biological damage of toxic stress. Without a comforting caregiver to help regulate a child's stress hormones, developing neural branches are stunted, leaving the neurons sparse and disconnected. That deep need for human interaction explains why global authorities like the World Health Organization issue such strict guidelines on early childhood environments. Their recommendation is blunt. For children under the age of 2, there should be absolutely zero passive screen time. A screen fails the biological test because a tablet cannot play serve and return. It cannot make eye contact, it cannot pause for emotion, and it cannot return a smile. Passive screens act as a developmental vacuum. They silently strip away the physical movement and responsive human interaction required to keep those young cognitive circuits alive. The antidote to this digital displacement is incredibly simple. It requires replacing devices with traditional physical play, using analog objects like wooden blocks or clay. Rigorous hands-on play forces a child to navigate gravity and texture. It feeds essential multisensory data directly to their muscles, joints, and balance systems. A flat piece of glass simply cannot provide that feedback. When you get on the floor and engage in that physical play, you create a distraction-free zone. It is the perfect environment for maintaining joint attention and rapidly accelerating language acquisition. Real-world analog play provides the specific sensory feedback required for early cognitive milestones, a biological input that digital substitutes do not offer. The physics of neuroplasticity mean we are working against the clock. The window to easily mold these foundational circuits steadily closes with every passing year. The architecture built in the first 5 years forms the blueprint for a child's emotional and cognitive development. Because complex adult skills are built atop these early circuits, the quality of this foundation eventually shapes their performance in the classroom and the workforce. Securing that blueprint requires caregivers to make a deliberate choice. It means prioritizing eye contact, responsive conversation, and physical presence over the lure of digital distraction. Prioritizing presence over the screen provides the interactive building blocks that physically assemble a human mind.